special guest. She's a TEDx speaker, emotional intelligence and leadership communication, helping leaders master human skills in the AI era. None other than Miss Sandy Gerber.
Hello, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Miss Sandy, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure. So, thanks for having me. I love a good conversation. So, I'm a certified communication coach and emotional intelligence trainer, and I'm a speaker and a coach. So, I work with people to help them to communicate, to connect at relationships in their life, at work, and at home.
Mm. Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Sandy. Thank you. And today, let's talk about your book, Emotional Magnetism.
Yeah. So,
So,
emotional magnetism started as a journey of failure. About 15 years ago, I was kind of living a double life. I was successful by all accounts. I had an awesome team, a sexy office, I was working on top brands. But in my personal life, I was failing and I was having trouble with communication. I had a failed marriage, I was burnt out. And so that set me on a path of about a decade of reading every book I had, every book I could get my hands on to learn the key to effective communication. And that sent me on a journey that was just tremendous. Helped me to understand more about myself, simplify communication. And as a result, I wrote a book. It went all over the world, and now it's people are resonating with it. And most importantly, Daniel, it's changing people's lives.
that is important, Miss Sandy. Changes people's lives. When I'm stressed and overwhelmed, what do I crave most? Stability or predictability? Recognition and goals? Efficiency and results? Or novelty and adventure? Which one?
Well, it's really when I looked at the work that was been going into communication and us, our ability to connect with people, I was stumbling across this research from the 60s. And Daniel, because you know so many books, that no good idea is really new. It's just repurposed, right? And so when I found this research from the 60s, it told me what emotionally motivates people. And this study that had been researched on all these people and thousands of people in the 60s, they found out that our people are just motivated by four things emotionally: safety, achievement, value, and experience. And so once you figure out which one of those are yours, what I call your emotional magnets, then everything starts to make sense. You understand why you've made the choices that you have in your life and what you truly need to be happy.
We truly need to be happy. That's what we like. Think a recent conflict with a partner or a colleague. Were they frustrated by something you need or needed, or were you frustrated by something they were not giving you? And what does that reveal about your core emotional needs?
Yeah, I mean, it's really we're we're listening for what we need, not what people are saying. Pardon me. Let me say that again so that people can
Mm,
understand. I'm getting over a flu bug, so it's a tough day today. So when
no
we're
worries.
listening to people or we're irritated by people and what they're saying, it's triggering something in us emotionally. And so when we understand that, we don't want to listen to someone or they're irritating us, it's because it's not connecting to what we truly need to be happy in our heart. So I find that the clients that I coach, the people that I train, the keynotes that I deliver, people are interested to know, wow, I can actually recognize that one of these four things is what's dictating all my choices in life and the decisions that I'm making. So once you're aware of that, and even more important, once you're aware of the other people's emotional magnets in your life or in your workplace, you start to have more empathy for them. You start to understand why they're making the choices they do. So we need to have this knowledge. We need to learn this information about ourselves and then share it with the people that are in our lives so that we can have better connection.
Another connection indeed. If you could design my ideal day, what would be the predictable and calm, full of accomplishments, ruthlessly efficient, or spontaneously adventurous?
Oh, for me, I mean, it's up to you, Daniel. What do you need emotionally, right? But for me, a day is full of achievement and adventure. I mean, I'm driven by the experience emotional magnet and the achievement emotional magnet. But if you ask my husband, his are very different. He's motivated by safety and he's motivated by value. So I'll give you an example if you want of how
Go
these
ahead.
come into play. When we had been working late one night and my husband said, let's just order some food. So I picked up the app and I started scrolling through looking for dinner. And I thought to myself, okay, he's motivated by safety. So that means he needs something predictable, something easy. He's not going to order something new. He orders what he likes. So I'm scanning through and I find something. Okay, Chipotle. So I say to him, hey, love, how about Chipotle for dinner? And he looks at me and he says, no, I can't do that. And I'm confused because he loves their burritos. And he says, well, no, I can't do that because they're only 3 blocks away. And I'm thinking, so what? And then I realize his other emotional magnet is value. He cannot justify a home delivery that's only 3 blocks away. So that's what's important to him. So I say, okay, I know, I get you. And then I look at him and I say, by the way, honey, how far does it have to be for the food to be delivered? And he says 5 blocks. So I end up scrolling down farther. I look for a place that's 6 blocks away. And he's happy because the delivery has been validated, value. And I'm happy because it's a new experience, a new adventure experience. So when we realize what someone's emotional needs are, what their emotional magnet is, we start crafting our messages and our understanding of those people better. And it just all clicks into place. It makes sense why they make the choices they do.
Very well said, Miss Sandy. Yeah. When someone gives me feedback or your feedback, do I need them to first reassure me for safety or acknowledge my effort for achievement or to get the point as the value itself or make feel like growth adventures?
I think it depends on what the person, like how well you know the person. So if you
Mm,
don't know the person, then what you're going to do is touch on every four of those things, right? So if you know the
mhm.
person, then you bring that out in them. So in the discussion. So many of our workplaces, I'll give you an example. Like a leader gets up in front of a team and they say, okay, everybody, we got to work hard. We're going to push hard. We're going to be the top in the industry. Well, there's very likely some people, perhaps in the accounting department or in another department in IT, that aren't motivated by that much achievement, but they're motivated by a safe, secure company, one that's growing sensibly, and maybe some technology advancement. So if that person just communicates about growth and adventure and experience and achievement, those people are not connecting to that message. So you've got to make sure when you're communicating, and I use this in my marketing, I use these four emotional magnets to grow my business from a startup in my bedroom to a top 100 fastest growing company. And the way I did that was making sure that each of my messages in my marketing and my sales connected to those four emotional magnets. That way, you're more likely to actually connect with your message and motivate someone to listen and to act.
Interesting, interesting, Miss Sandy. What did I need most of a child to feel loved and secure? And does that same need still drive my reactions today?
Oh, great question. I think, when you're looking at emotional magnets, they were developed as early as 6 years of age. So they're
Hmm.
based on your upbringing, what happened in your life, the obstacles you've overcome. So, if you were raised in an environment where, you were abandoned or perhaps less finances than you would have wanted or some trauma, then safety and value are going to be very important to you. And the same goes with achievement and with experience. It depends on the modeling and the environment that you were in. Now, say we don't know the people and we're meeting people, the best way to understand what someone emotionally needs is the most effective tool, and that's with questions. So you're going to ask an open-ended question, not like, how are you and where do you work or where do you live? You're going to ask a question like, why did you choose your profession? What do you love most about your role? And that way, they'll give you some information that isn't canned. They're not just spitting it out. They actually have to think about the answer. When they think about the answer, they're sharing truthfully how they feel. And from that response, you can glean lots of information about people and detect their magnet. And at that point, you can understand why they made the choice and also craft your message so that you truly make that person feel seen and heard. That's what connection really is about.
Truly connection of magnetism for sure. When I'm trying to help someone, Miss Sandy, do I default to giving advice or sharing my own story or asking analytical question? And which of these might actually be pushing them away?
If you're trying to help someone, you're coming from a place of empathy. You're coming from a place of curiosity. So that's the best place to start is asking a person one question, 4 words. What do you need? That's the most important question you can ask any human because we don't get asked a lot, right? So once you ask that question, the person doesn't feel defensive, the person feels open. And if you're actively listening, including giving them body language that signals that you're connected to them, then you're creating this wonderful safe space for them to share. And it's at that point where someone decides whether they want to share a little bit more, whether they may not even know what they need until you ask them what they need. So that's the most important question to ask someone. And even especially, especially if you've been in relationships for a long time, families with history, that's the question that opens up a space that feels safer to share and a space where people can really, really request what they need.
When I feel misunderstood, Miss Sandy, do I assume the other person is not listening, or do I consider that I might be speaking to the wrong emotional magnet?
I think when you feel misunderstood, the first thing to do is pay attention to nonverbal communication. So, what are the cues that are happening to your listener, to the person you're speaking to? How are they reacting to what you're saying? So, you can pick that up. In the first 4 minutes of meeting someone, our nonverbal communication accounts for more than half of all contact. So, we've already made up our mind about what someone said before they've even opened their mouth. So if you're feeling misunderstood, a good place to start is looking at, well, maybe my content is not connecting with this person. They're not understanding what I'm saying. And so if that's the case, ask a question, change the subject, or just call it out and say, hey, I just want to check in. Is what I'm saying tracking with you? Am I answering your questions, Daniel, to your satisfaction? Check in with the person. And then that way, give them the space to come back with their comment.
Indeed, Miss Sandy, you're giving us empowering answer, and thank you for that. If I'm honest, do I sometimes communicate to the right rather than to be understood? And can I feel the difference in the body where or when I'm doing it?
Yeah, I mean, it's if you're I have this phrase that I like to say, if you are already thinking about being right in a relationship, you're starting to lose the relationship. So it's not about being right or wrong, it's about being understood. And so you have to make sure that your responsibility in a relationship at work or at home is to share how you feel. And so there's one tool that I recommend to people. It's coming in my next book. I call it the honest sandwich. And what my mission is, I'm sure I'm here on this planet to make communication way more simpler for people. And so what this tool does is it gives you a framework to work within when you want to share something that might be a little more difficult to share without creating defensiveness. So it's 3 quick steps. And what you're going to do is first, you're going to start with feel. What do you feel? We don't usually do that, right? Have many of us have not been taught how to express how we feel without creating like awkwardness or defensiveness. So a lot of us don't do that. We'll start with, you did this wrong, or I heard this. And so, what you want to do is first start with feel. That brings humanity into the conversation. The second step you want to do is say what you need. So, let's say you got cut off in a meeting. So, I feel frustrated that I got cut off in a meeting, that you cut me off. Secondly, you'd say, I need to know that my opinion matters. You're giving them direction now. You're not giving them a directive. You're saying to them, it's not like this is what you did wrong. You're saying, here's what I need to feel better, to do better. So it's a totally different response. And that's actually where true leadership lives, is when you start sharing what you need. And then the final step is to say what you want to move, what you want to do going forward or next. So you say, feel need next or feel need forward. So you say, I felt frustrated that you cut me off in a meeting. I need to know that my opinion matters and that I'm a valuable member of your team. And going forward, could you ask for my opinion before you shut down the meeting? That's a totally different way to frame how you're feeling. And the person doesn't get defensive because you've started with feel, told them what you need, and told them what to do next. And that's how responsible connection that's how responsible conversation and connection live. It's in that moment where you're structurally thinking about it that your brain actually calms down, your body calms down, and you're thinking about delivery and connection.
Beautifully articulated. Miss Sandy, think of someone you find difficult. Is it possible they are not difficult, or they are not just driven by different magnet than you, and you've been judging them through your own lens?
Yes. There's people out there that are difficult for sure, especially nowadays. There's many differing points of view. And so it's hard to assume that every conversation is going to go well. You can try your best by addressing their points and communicating to their magnet, but many times you'll find that there's just people that are not ready to connect. They just will not listen to you. They will not connect. And so that's the case where you cut the cord there. You don't stay in that conversation. You move on because that person is resistant in connection. They don't want to connect. They want to be right or they want to demand certain things. They're not open to collaboration and connection. So when you feel that, it's not really about magnets not aligning, because this isn't like if you have value and I have safety, we're not going to get along. That's not the case. It's mostly about understanding the people in your life, what's really motivating them. And when you understand that, things make sense. Like I talk about this in my TED talk. I talk about labeling. We all love to label, right? It's what we do. It's just
Hmm.
how we make sense of the world. But the trouble with labeling is that we tend to label people by their behavior and not by their emotional motivation. So we'll say stuff like you're a workaholic or you're lazy or you're ambitious. But what if we actually started labeling by what they emotionally need to be happy? And we'd say stuff like you need to be if they were motivated by safety, you need to be in a secure environment. You need predictability. You need ease. You need to be of service to others. If they were achievement, you're not a workaholic. You're someone who needs to achieve goals. You're someone who needs to be a thought leader. So it changes your filter on judgment for people, because now you don't have all these other labels. Like an example is I have this friend and she has so much money, like so much money, Daniel. It's crazy. And we'll go shopping and she'll say, "Oh, that's very expensive. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back when it's on sale." And you would think to yourself, "What? This person has money. They can buy this thing." But the thing is, she needs to have a sale. She needs to have a deal. She needs to know that the return on her investment, she's getting a benefit from that. And that's what she emotionally needs. So we don't call her cheap or, you know, whatever word we want to put against that that would be negative. Now we just go, yeah, value is her emotional magnet. That's who she is. And we love her for it. So it gives you more empathy, it gives you more patience with people, and you stop labeling them because now you understand them better and you start supporting them and honoring them for what they need.
Beautiful again, Miss Sandy. When you want to persuade someone to your point of view, do you lead with what you find compelling? Or do you first ask yourself what they find compelling based on their magnet?
Yes. The very first place you start is what they need, because it's not about you. It's about what they need to move forward. So when you think about, if you're going to buy a car, and let's say you're going to buy a car and you've never met this person, and the salesperson comes up. This is why it works so well in my marketing and sales and grew my business, because my messages were targeted to the four different magnets. So let's say you're buying a car and you go to the lot and you're thinking, I need, I'm thinking of getting a Jeep or something. I need it to be a cool car and it's got to look good. And so the salesperson kind of gets some of that idea at first, but then I'm hemming and hawing about whether I should actually buy it. And the salesperson is asking me questions. And through those questions, he's understanding that actually I'm not motivated by how it looks. I'm motivated by how it functions, which is an aspect of value. So by asking good questions, you can understand what that person needs. And then you can say, hey, you know what? It's not just gorgeous to look at this car, but it actually has this compartment and it has this feature and it has that. And now I'm more motivated to actually buy the car. So it's really about listening and asking questions and understanding and gathering this information about people so that you can then present those facts to what they actually need.
Indeed, Miss Sandy, indeed. When you pitch an idea to your boss or clients, do you lead with excite you, or do you tailor your message to be likely magnets, security for a CFO, or achievement for a sales leader, or value for an operations director, experience for a creative?
Mhm. You nailed it. That's exactly right. You've already got it, Daniel. You know exactly what we're talking about. And that's the thing.
Mhm,
It's very easy to figure out once you know. Like, think of it like a four-lane highway, and each of
mhm,
us is driving in one of those lanes. And sometimes we'll swerve between those lanes, but we tend to stick to one. And every choice in our life has to do with that magnet: safety, predictability, achievement, competition, thought leadership, value, return on your investment, and maybe a legacy and the worth of what you're doing, and experience being new and innovative, novelty, adventure. So if you start thinking about, wow, my career choice is dictated by my magnet. If you're really happy in your role, you're doing what your magnet wants. If you are in a relationship and your partner is motivated by safety and you're motivated by experience, and you want to travel the world, it's not likely they're joining you. So you've got to be aware of these things, and when you know that, it just makes conversation way easier.
mm. So, Miss Sandy, when you delegate a task, do you explain why it matters in terms of the other person's curious about, or only in terms that matter to you?
No, exactly right. When you're going to ask someone to do something, you need to start with their reason to listen, their reason to
Mm,
act. So, why would they be motivated to do something unless it emotionally motivated them? So, you'd say to them, I need you to have this done by Tuesday. We're gonna win an award. Well, that's not going to motivate someone with safety. But if you say to them, I need to have this done by Tuesday, and if you could create a structured process to get us there, that would be amazing. That's something that would appeal to someone in safety. Or I'm going to give you all the pieces you need to complete it by Saturday, by Tuesday. So you are always thinking, and this works for children as well. I mean, it works for anyone in your life. It's not manipulation, it's actually motivation. And you're understanding, we get so many messages every day. Why is your message going to resonate with me? There's so many that we receive. So to break through all that noise, we have to make sure that the message connects to what they emotionally need. And then they're motivated to act.
well, indeed, connection, indeed. So, before we wrap up our discussion for today, Miss Sandy, I'm inviting you to please to listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in the third season, and of course my book 101 review in sixth season 2, a comedy 101 in fourth season, my Food 101 is sixth season, and my Geography 101 Love Letters, Movie 101 Review Music are fifth season, and Music Science 101, Sex 101 in its fourth season. Of course, my baby podcast, Trivia 101, Motivation 101, Spiritual Awakening 101, Entrepreneurship 101, Law 101, Mental Health 101, Coaching 101, as well as my Bible Verses 1 are my baby podcasts. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Sandy, tell us what would change in your professional life if you stop trying to be impressive and instead become genuinely curious about what drives the people around you?
Well, I'll tell you, it's changed my life and thousands of people's in the world when you start thinking about what other people need. Curiosity is the engine for growth in all areas of our life, but especially in our communication. We're just hardwired to be curious. So when you start thinking, my book was structured in three ways to appeal to that. The first section is telling you what's blocking communication, and the second section is really about the emotional magnets, the upside and downside with a quiz. And the third is how to craft those messages for your business and for messaging. So I'd say to people, be curious, go out, find out what your magnet is for yourself, share it with the people in your life. And before you know it, you'll have more connection than you ever dreamed of.
Certainly, people be curious. Who knows, you will be the next Einstein. And of course, this emotional magnetism. So, Miss Sandy, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your upcoming book as well, and hoping for the best for you?
Thank you so much, Daniel. Appreciate the conversation.
Likewise. So, where do people can reach you, Miss Sandy?
Yeah, they can find me at sandygerber.com. And my book, it's now won 24 awards, absolutely crazy, and is available in
Congratulations.
3 languages and is also on all platforms and on Audible. So, yeah, happy for them to discover this jewel. It changed my life, and I hope it changes yours.
Congratulations, Miss Sandy. Please do come over and let's talk about your upcoming book. Let's promote it and let's empower people all over the world through your knowledge and wisdom. So, Miss Sandy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate you.
Maricon people, see you soon.